I was sleeping peacefully, and then the music stopped. So as I'm waking up out of this nice, comfortable sleep, and I'm rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, standing at my feet is an old man with his arms folded across his chest, just looking at me. Scared the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah.
I locked eyes on him for a good 3, 4, 5 seconds. I'm doing this, reaching around behind me, trying to find my weapon while I'm staring at him. And I turned my head for that brief moment, and he disappeared.
Some places don't just remember violence, they hold on to it. Tonight's location has seen many different things from war to murder, and now it has many new challenges. Welcome to the Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural. I'm Jeremy, and each week we explore the haunting intersections between our past and the paranormal. Tonight I'm joined by Dennis Estlock, owner of the Cabin on 360 in Mechanicsville, Virginia, to uncover the secrets of the property that absorbs centuries of bloodshed. And so now just grab your favorite beverage, dim the lights, and prepare to journey into the world where history refuses to stay buried. Welcome, Dennis. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. How are you?
Oh, doing great. I'm excited to learn all about the cabin. And so to get started, for people that aren't familiar with the Cabin on 360, what is this place and how did you come to own it and occupy it?
So the cabin on 360 is just what it says. It's a log cabin, sits on the side of Route 360 in Mechanicsville, Virginia. In addition to that building, we have a little brick rancher next door, and it's a total of 7.2 acres of battlefield from the Battles of Bethesda Church. Now, where it sits, historically, we can push all the way back to 1630. I don't think we have enough time on this podcast to run through the decades or the centuries, but we do know that the Europeans were moving into this area about the 1630s. They were pushing the natives off, and they always made great trade deals and were very generous with the natives.
Yes.
So we have some history there. We don't know how many hundreds or potentially thousands of years of historic native occupation took place on the land, but we do know that we had several different tribes in the immediate area, most of which were under the Powhatan chiefdom. And then we have in the 1700s, we have Revolutionary War comes right through in front of the cabin. The road that is actually there now, modern day US Route 360, dates back into the 1700s. And it's the thoroughfare from Richmond up to the northern neck in Chesapeake Bay. So a lot of the British troops were coming in that direction. So you have small skirmishes going on along the way. As the car goes, we're only about 2 hours away from Yorktown as well, if even that far. So you have Yorktown, Williamsburg, all of those central points that were key during the Revolutionary War are within a fairly short distance. Then we move forward a couple of more 100 years and we go into the 1860s, the American Civil War. Bethesda Church itself, that the battles that our land occupies, sat just across the road from us, just over a tenth of a mile away. I could almost throw a stone to their property.
Wow.
But the locality that we're in really doesn't care about history so much as they care about modern luxuries, modern amenities, and things like that. So where Bethesda Church itself sat, they're now building a brand new elementary school on top of that foundation.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking, which is why I'm stepping up and, for lack of better terms, nearly bankrupting myself to save this land. It is battlefield. During the battles of Bethesda Church, 2,264 men were either killed, wounded, captured, or missing in action on or immediately adjacent to my property. So I want to be able to save that battlefield. To me, as a several generation soldier, That's all hallowed ground. It deserves to be honored.
Yeah.
So that was my intent. Brant was encamped at Bethesda Church for a period of time. Lee was encamped at Bethesda Church for a period of time. The battles that took place at Bethesda Church, as far as from a Confederate side, I've got a letter from the editor from a Colonel Christian that says a full on 90% of all command staff ended their careers at Bethesda Church. And then it says mostly killed. So it was horrific battles that took place right there at my property.
Wow.
So then we'll move forward another 100 years and we'll go into 1979. And you made mention of the murder that took place in the Brick Rancher. And that was a little 12-year-old Melissa that was taken at the hands of her 17-year-old half brother. On the morning of Friday, October 4th, 1979, he sexually assaulted her and then put two .38 caliber rounds in her chest. So it has seen its share over about a 400-year period of just darkness and strife. And if we look at the paranormal aspect of it, there is a theory in the paranormal that says man's atrocity to man can rip a tear, so to speak, between their realm and ours. If that's the truth, if that's an accurate thought, I can't think of a more susceptible place to that happening than right where we're at.
Yeah. Oh, that makes complete sense. Yeah. The different tragedies between the battle, the murder, all the different things that happened. And I imagine with the Native Americans, I imagine they probably fought on that land as well prior to that, prior to us coming over.
Yeah, and that's part of, so we have a little darker entity. I think it's an elemental, which was a conjured spirit of the earth energy brought forth by the natives. And in the Powhatan chiefdom, they called it a pukwudgie.
Okay.
I suspect that's what's on our property. And potentially, I've been told by some of the mediums and so forth that have come through that there are a couple of them there, which wouldn't surprise me. The natives were known to, quote, curse the land before they were pushed off. Did they curse this land? Did they bring forth this pukwudgie? And was it intended to do harm against the invaders, so to speak? So we don't know all of those questions. And that's part of what we're trying to find out is what was done there? Who is still lingering there that wants to talk to us? And one of my biggest questions is who's the old man that was standing at my feet and made me almost crap in my sleeping bag one night?
Nope.
And I'm not even exaggerating on that one. This year, and I'm proud of this, this year is our 11th year hosting a Toys for Tots event.
Oh, really?
And one of the things that I wanted to do when I took over this property was benefit our community. So we do Toys for Tots. We've hosted probably a dozen events to benefit local families that are going through tragic times. There was a young lady in Mechanicsville that was a St. Jude's kid, Sawyer Perkins. She had brain cancer. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, but we had hosted a few events for her family. Others, like I had a prior team member that was put out of work while he battled colon cancer. So we hosted events to help his family make sure the bills stayed up and things. So it's not just a matter of what can the paranormal offer us, it's what can we do for the community as well. And I'm proud of those things. Twice a year, like I mentioned, my generational military background and family, twice a year we do events. We raise funds and we buy flags, and then we go into the actual city of Richmond. There's a couple of cemeteries that were primarily abandoned, and we placed nearly 700 flags on veterans' headstones.
Wow.
Some of them that hadn't seen the light of day in probably 40, 50 years. They've been so badly overgrown. So it's just a matter of the paranormal gives us so much. What can we give back?
Yeah. And I wish there was more people that did that. In this day and age, there's not always Oh, some people do, and it's great, but I think more people should be doing that.
I agree. And I just saw a post roll through my Facebook feed today that Pinhurst is hosting an event for, and I didn't catch all the details because, like I told you, my phone would not stop in the past hour. But they're hosting an event to benefit a local family. And I think that's wonderful.
It
And
is.
not every location can afford to do it. And sometimes it is a struggle for us just to make ends meet. But I think what you put out into the universe comes back to you. So even if it isn't financially feasible at that time and I'm able to do an event to benefit someone that's truly in need, I'm going to do it. And the universe will find a way to back me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Now, with all this different history, do you feel that the property is connected back to a specific battle, or is it more general activity when it comes to the hauntings? I know you talked about the Pudgewezzy, but other than that,
There have been full-bodied apparitions of soldiers seen on the property. There have been full shadow figures seen. That with a shadow figure, it's very hard to determine where it's from, what it's from, or for that matter, who it is. So knowing a time frame is difficult, but we've heard virtually everything from native flutes and drumming and military cadence, what sounded like the damn drum and fife corps was marching at the very back end of the woods one night. And we're all looking at each other going, it's 11:30 at night. I don't think there's a drum and fife corps out practicing. But narrowing down whether it's revolutionary soldiers that we're encountering or Civil War soldiers is virtually impossible. I would say, though, what we seem to have interacted with most is the Civil War soldiers.
okay.
And along with them, and I try not to throw too much highlight on the tragic murder that took place next door, simply because it was a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I want her respected above all. And that was part of the reason why we put, so I don't know if you've seen our posts lately. If you look at our Facebook page, you'll see that we built a memorial garden shaped like a butterfly. The flowers and such that we picked were specifically picked because the colors are what we received back from her over time in AVPs as far as her colors. So we have reds and yellows and purples, but those were colors that we've gotten response back of what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
And you mentioned along the trails that go through the woods, I'm building a Confederate encampment. I want to clear out a portion of the woods and do a Confederate encampment that's going to have trail markers. There's also going to be a Union encampment back there with trail markers. I've got some companies and regiments that did battle there during the Civil War that were just completely decimated. 13th Virginia is a prime example. They went on an offensive attack about a mile away, leaving Bethesda Church just across the road. They're going nearly a mile away to our north to push the Union lines back and got bogged down in the mud. So 500 soldiers from 13th Virginia get bogged down in the mud. 400 of them were massacred right there by 5,000 Union soldiers coming in to attack Bethesda Church and move into another battle site just 3 miles away called Cold Harbor.
Wow.
And they deserve to have a memorial, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we have 49th Virginia. They only had 12 soldiers left when the commander finally decided to surrender. He was literally told, surrender now while you have men left to surrender.
Wow.
15th Pennsylvania, same issue. They were just virtually decimated. So I want to be able to set up not only paranormal, I want the history to speak more loudly than the tragedy of that young girl. I want the history of those soldiers to be memorialized.
Yeah. As they should be. Now, have you tried to get it designated? I'm assuming you probably tried to get it designated as a national monument or a state, or I don't know. It's probably a big thing to do that, I imagine.
So the trouble is I'm only leaseholder on the property. So I hold lease on it. with the intent that I'm going to purchase it.
Oh, okay.
However, because it's a fledgling business, I'm not a wealthy individual. I don't have a 850 credit score or a mansion to put on the line. The banks won't deal with me. Even Small Business Administration won't deal with me because I'm not the property owner.
Oh,
So I'm trying to I have a GoFundMe out that's been out for about 2 years, a year and a half. It's raised about $2,000. That doesn't even cover attorney's fees.
yeah.
So it's a matter of how can I take ownership of this? I've spoken with American Battlefield Trust, which is one of the largest battlefield preservers in the country. I've spoken with, there's another one that's in Virginia alone, and it's Preservation Virginia, but none of them will help me because I'm not the property owner. They don't want to commit funds to it because they don't know that I will still hold it in a year or 5 or 10, whatever. So they don't want to put their money in it.
Yeah.
Once I'm able to actually take ownership, then they've all agreed they'll step in and help simply because it is such a significant battlefield.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Cold Harbor. We are actually the ignition point for Cold Harbor. The battles started on our land and progressed into Cold Harbor. Now,
Oh,
Cold Harbor is a very significant battle in the fact that on a per capita basis, it was the deadliest battle of the entire Civil War. The Union casualties were in excess of 80. One of the maps that I have at the property is a hand-drawn map from a Union commander. And the footnote on the bottom right, it gives injured and dead, but the note on the bottom right says 10,000 men lay still in 20 minutes.
oh, that's
That's
crazy.
some horrific numbers.
Yeah, that is. That's
So
just,
it's definitely a significant battle that took place on our land and then continued just 3 miles away at the, I guess you would call it at the head of the match.
yeah. What was your first real experience you had on the property?
I had a true, for lack of better terms, oh shit moment. So the company that owns the land currently is Jones Realty and Construction. And my team co-founder, which Commonwealth Researchers of the Paranormal is my team. My co-founder, Ryan Jones, is the grandson of the individual that built that company and bought this parcel of land. So these two homes are sitting empty for however long. And Ryan's like, hey, man, we ought to go check them out. We can use them, even if it's nothing else but a training ground, until somebody signs a lease or whatever. It took a year before he finally convinced me to go out. Walking through, you could definitely tell something was going on. You could feel the energy shift from area to area. Then we're in the basement of the brick rancher, and we're just kind of looking around to see what can we do. Can we run extension cords? What do you think about setting up cameras? How would you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And while we're doing this, there is just this, it's a cheesy term, but it's truly a good descriptor of it, a blood curdling scream that it wasn't one of those where we looked at each other and went, did you hear that? It was truly a, what the F was that? I mean, it echoed through the house. Our first thought was somebody has either broken in or somebody right outside has gotten hurt. So we ran out of the house and ran around the building to see if somebody was nearby, a child, or, did a car just strike a bicyclist? Nothing.
Yeah.
And as we walked back in, we're like, wait a minute, that actually echoed in the house. That came from within. And it's like, yeah, we need to get some gear and start investigating here. So that kicked off the investigations. We had so much activity going on that we decided to open the doors up and have other teams come in and see what they captured. But at those early days, the only thing we knew was when Ryan was a preteen, early teen, he remembered his dad coming home saying that there had been a murder in one of the houses, but he wouldn't tell details. So we didn't know who our victim was. We didn't know the age of the victim or the gender. didn't know who the perpetrator was, none of the details.
Yeah.
We're generally asking questions in EVP sessions of, was somebody murdered here? How did they die? What's your name? Not knowing that we're asking literally of a 12-year-old girl to describe her final day. So through numerous visits to the local courthouse, the sheriff deputies there finally asked me, what are you actually looking for anyway? And I told them where I'm focusing my attention. And they're like, you need just hang tight right here. And they introduced me to a captain and then a lieutenant on the local sheriff's department that just happened to be rookie patrol deputies on the day of the murder. And the lieutenant gave me the name of the perpetrator. So then I start doing my deep dive into newspapers.com and look at archive sections. And I started finding all my articles. And I'm like, dude, we've been investigating a 12-year-old girl that was murdered at the hands of her own half-brother. And that changed the whole dynamic of how we investigate now. It's not a matter of this is an anonymous individual. This is a 12-year-old girl, and that deserves the utmost respect.
Yeah.
So, but that was my first thing, was to hear that loud, shrill scream in the middle of the afternoon, daylight just pouring in the windows. Yeah.
It's only gotten better from there. So I know you said that there you get quite a few apparitions and shadow figures. Is there any other evidence that you've captured personally or seen personally?
There are just a ton of personal experiences. Trying to walk around, most of the time I'm on property, I have specific tasks that I want to do. So I'm not carrying a camera at all times.
Yeah.
And then, of course, during our public investigations, I don't have a camera crew running around. It's just the public. And we're doing EVP sessions. We've got MEF monitors and everything else running, REM pods, et cetera. But one that stands out to me, we were doing one of our public events, and at the end of the night, I've got myself and 4 or 5 volunteers are standing on the front porch, my team members at that time. And there's a little gravel road right beside my property that goes to the very back portion of the neighbor's property, and it goes to cell phone towers. And all of us heard a horse and buggy clippity-clopping along that gravel road. You could hear the steel-capped wheels rolling on the gravel. And of course, 3 flashlights pop up and there's nothing. That's one of the more outstanding moments. The primary one, so we know during the Civil War, there was a family home on the land, and it was the Curry family, Curry. Now, I suspect Mr. and Mrs. Curry are still on property. Our first year doing a toy drive, at the end of the night, it's 1:30, 2 in the morning. I'm exhausted, 30-minute drive home. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw a sleeping bag up in the loft, which overlooks the main room. So I carry sidearm at all times. So I laid my sidearm by my shoulder. I plugged my phone in. I had music playing and slid into the sleeping bag. I was sleeping peacefully. And then the music stopped. So as I'm waking up out of this nice, comfortable sleep, and I'm rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, standing at my feet is an old man with his arms folded across his chest, just looking at me. Scared the hell out of me. I locked eyes on him for a good 3, 4, 5 seconds. I'm doing this, reaching around behind me, trying to find my weapon while I'm staring at him. And I turned my head for that brief moment, and he disappeared. And I'm assuming, judging from his era of clothing, looked like turn of the century, little short, slightly rounded individual. I'm assuming it's Mr. Curry. Now, he is mentioned another time in the Union Daily Journal. There's a lieutenant colonel at the VIA house that says, in his daily notes, he says, this morning along came a most peculiar couple, the Currys. They've come seeking reparations for damages done to their home as our troops progressed towards Cold Harbor. Mr. Curry, a flabby, mostly retired looking gentleman. That's not exactly a brilliant description, but I love the wording of it. and Mrs. Curry, a tawdrily dressed woman with a spiteful, biting tongue. Reparations were initially considered until such time as Mrs. Curry spoke, and she's quoted as saying, "At the beginning of this God-forsaken war, I wished nothing but the best for the Union Army and her endeavors. Now I wish sweet Mother Earth would open up and swallow them whole, myself included." The footnote of it is no reparations were granted.
Oh,
But you know as well as I do, as the troops are moving through, they need supplies of all kinds.
yeah.
So they just took whatever they could get, food, grains, shoes, clothing, whatever they needed, they just took it. So they gutted the Curry family home. And I suspect that old man that was standing at my feet that night was probably Mr. Curry, because he matched that description. He was a flabby, mostly retired looking gentleman. But I'll tell you what, I learned an extremely valuable lesson that night. So I travel a lot. I investigate other locations all over the place. If you're going to sleep in a sleeping bag in a haunted location, don't zip that thing up. You can't get out fast enough.
That was a lesson learned.
Yeah. Yeah. That one it was a harsh lesson learned. I learned a lot of harsh lessons as a kid, but none of them made me want to crap in my sleeping bag. But we got that one squared away. He's been seen several times since by different investigating teams that have come in. Some of the other things that we have happen are just electrical anomalies. I had the fellows the other night from, I don't know if I'm supposed to say where they're from or not. So I probably have, you know what? They'll tell me I shouldn't have done this. But Haunted Nights came in the other night.
Oh, I saw it on Facebook anyway.
Yeah, they had some electrical anomalies, just equipment kept getting knocked out. I had loaned them a couple of flashlights because of the size of the woods. One of them's a rechargeable that I had just unplugged. The other one took two AA or AAA batteries. I had just put brand new energizers in it. They made it 20 feet into the woods and the flashlight died. And I'm like, all right then. So it's things like that. And I've had teams tell me that this piece of equipment died 5 minutes later, this piece of equipment died 5 minutes later, this piece of equipment died. And I know they all had new batteries. I put them in before we left. And it's just, we believe that if spirit can drain batteries to energize themselves, they do it very proficiently at the cabin.
Oh, yeah. I've experienced that at Wildwood, the Wildwood Saloon.
Yeah.
When I went for my investigation there, my camera, I made sure when I left the hotel, because we'd stayed the night before at a hotel, made sure it was charged. And got there for the investigation. I took it out. It was completely dead. It wouldn't even turn on. And I checked it. I know it was fully charged before I left the hotel.
Yeah. This past weekend, rather, I had 3 teams collaborated and spent the full weekend. And they said that they had lost several pieces of gear, just almost instantaneous battery drain. So we've gotten used to that. But between the shadow figures, the voices, residual musket fire, cannon fire, drumming, chanting, there's virtually anything and everything that a paranormal investigator would look for has been captured there.
Wow.
People getting touched, just disembodied voices. Like I had one of the comments on Steve's post was a woman that said, we heard talking outside the building so loud between 2 men that our investigators went outside and ran around the property to find nobody there. And that's happened on numerous occasions. So it's an anomaly in the paranormal world in the fact that you get the log cabin and it's fairly calm, but it probably has, I want to say 3 to 6 spirits in it. There was a little boy spotted in there one time. There was an older woman spotted. Of course, the older male, who we assume is Curry, but they're fairly calm. And then you get into the Brick Rancher, and there's a gentleman there. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who he is. Roughly 6'2". So part of the problem is I don't know a whole lot of the history on the house. I don't know when it was built because it didn't show up in court records. And in July of 1978, when Jones Realty bought the land, that house was already there, but it wasn't even on the survey plat. The best I can do is tell you, I found an aerial photograph from 1952 and that house was there. I don't know when it got there.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out who's who is a little difficult because you don't know. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was the Smith house. And old Farmer Smith lived there right up until he died in his recliner. I don't have those stories.
Yeah.
So trying to find out who the spirits are that are there. Plus, we have that road out front that's 400 years of history.
One.
Yeah, how many soldiers died of exhaustion or whatever on a march? How many horse and buggy crashes? How many natives were killed out there? And who's to say that the spirits that are at the rancher aren't going, there's another one. Should we call it? Yeah, we'll call him over. Hey, you're like us. Come on.
Yeah. You just never know.
They tell us that when you die, you're lost and in limbo a little bit. If there's others over there going, hey, come on over. We got you, buddy. You're just going to go hang out with them, I guess.
Yeah.
And
True.
we've had mediums and psychics go, wow, this place is just, it's crazy with all of them that just come and go. It's like a bus station. Yeah. There's a few residents that don't leave.
Yeah.
Between the two buildings, I'd say there's probably 8 to 10 that you can interact with at any given time. And then the woods, of course, is just, there's so many back there. There is no, I've had people ask me, where's the most active place on the property? You just said the answer, on the property.
On the property.
Yeah. Monday, it could be the log cabin. Tuesday, it could be the brick rancher. Late Tuesday, it could be the farthest back portion of our woods. It just depends on, I think a lot of it is the energy that we bring forward as investigators. The spirits there connect with or don't connect with us. If somebody at, I don't know, Wawa strikes up a conversation with me and I just have an uneasy feeling about them, I'm going to cut that conversation as short as I can and I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
I think the dead do the same.
Oh, I agree. I think because there's sometimes when you go to certain places, you get nothing. And then next day, someone else gets a whole bunch of activity. I think it's the connection with whoever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the line of questioning is also a major factor in it. Usually when I kick off the public investigations, I tell the guests, don't treat this like an FBI interrogation. You're coming into their home, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm just here to chat with you. I hope you don't mind me being here. Thank you for allowing me to come into your home. But if you walk in, you're like, tell me how you died. When did you die? What did you die of? They're going to be like, you're going to get flipped off and they're just going to turn and walk away from you.
Yeah.
But so I think all of those things play together. I also think that there's a little bit of truth to the theory that the lunar cycle has something to do with it as well.
Possibly.
Now, I don't know about the 3:00 witching hour, and that's when the veil is the thinnest, or I don't know so much about that because I've been in places where, 2 a.m., everything just flatlines, no pun, and you don't get any activity the rest of the night. I've been in other places where it stayed continuous all the way up to daybreak. So I think it's a matter of what spirits want to interact and what you bring to the table energy-wise.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you think that there's possibly, like you said, it seems like that the spirits, some of them come and go. Do you think there's some kind of like portal or there, or?
That word's been used a few times. And I don't know. I haven't exactly perfected my portal detection skills. I haven't seen what looks like the transporters from Star Trek on site lately. So I don't know. Maybe there is. We have an area on site that we do call the portal, and it's simply because it's where the walking trail goes and it's between the two largest cedar trees on the whole property. And
Kind of looks like a
you,
portal.
yeah, it looks really cool. Actually, Steve posted a picture of that one.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe there's a portal there, and maybe it's just that. I don't know. What if spirit is a beacon for spirit? And they're like, I don't want to just wander alone. So I'm just going to go hang out with them. They're like me now. Our transparent American friends all stick together.
Very true. So, have you had investigators come and get scared and not make the night?
Oh, yeah. I know a great story.
Okay.
So I had a team from New Hampshire. They drive 9.5 hours, 7 members, pile into the Suburban. They paid for the full weekend. So they've got their luggage. They've got all their equipment. Like I said, 9.5 hour drive from New Hampshire. When they get there, I do the history, I do the tour, about an hour and a half total. Them Sunday morning when you leave, this is Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Sunday morning when you leave, make sure all lights are off, make sure the doors are locked, send me a message, lets me know you're off property, and I'll arm my cameras and have a great time. So, like I said, I've got a 30 to 40-minute drive home. I get home and I throw a Stouffer's Salisbury steak family-sized dinner in the microwave because apparently I'm a family of 4. I have an inner fat kid. But about the time the microwave dings to tell me that my family meal is done, my phone rings. And it's the team lead for this group. And he says, hey, I just want you to know the lights are out, the doors are locked, and we're headed home. I'm like, wait, is everybody okay? Is there a family emergency or something? Oh, no, we're fine. We just weren't ready for this shit. What? What the hell went off the rails so bad in an hour and a half that you are throwing in the towel and leaving for a 9.5 hour drive home? And his answer was, I don't even know where to begin. I didn't miss a beat, and the first thought in my head, and of course, I don't have much of a filter. The first thought in my head and the first words out of my mouth was, the effing beginning sounds like a great place to start. It's like, true story, fair point.
Wow.
You're like, so it started out about 20 minutes after you left. 2 of my investigators were ready to wear each other out. He goes, I step between them, I get them separated and get all that mess calmed down. I turned around and I handed my newest investigator 3 trail cameras, and I'm sending him to the way back, which is what we've termed the very back portion of the woods because it's way back there.
Yeah.
It took a lot of effort to figure out the name.
Makes sense.
But he said, while he's gone, we're setting out gear, we're bringing in the other gear, we're getting ready and devising a plan. And about 10 minutes after I sent him out, he comes running back in, throws all 3 cameras on the table and says, F this place, you put the cameras out. He's like, you can see this boy is visibly shaken. He is pale, he is sweating, is shaking. And he's like, whoa, calm down, calm down. What happened? He's like, man, I got halfway back the trail, that little access road. I had to take a leak. I stepped into the tree line, and next thing I realized, I was surrounded by hooded, cloaked figures. Like, I shut my eyes, I said the Lord's Prayer, opened my eyes, and they were gone. You can go put cameras out. I'm not going back there alone. At this point, he was like, we're thinking maybe you got paid actors on property. I chuckled. I was, brother, I can barely pay. I can, excuse me, I can barely keep the lights on, let alone afford to pay actors to come out here and scare people. The spirits do well enough at that. He's like, yeah, we figured that out, but we decided all 7 of us are going back together, and we're going to find these paid actors that we are now convinced are in the woods. He's like, we get halfway across the little side yard headed for the access road, and we hear just a like somebody knocking on the window at the cabin. He said, we turn and look and the lights are on in the loft upstairs. And I went, they don't even work. He goes, I'm telling you, they were on. Okay, great. He's like, but standing in the window, there was, and he starts hemming and hawing around trying to figure out words. And I'm like, there was what, a shadow figure? Or he's like, no, there was a damn goat man in the window. Oh, come on now. I've been on this property for years. I've never seen a goat man. And he's like, let me ask you this. Why would I drive 9.5 hours, pay for the full weekend? I'm not asking for a refund, by the way. Good, because I can't give you a refund. He's like, I'm not even worried about that. But why would I go through all this to blow smoke up your ass?
That's a good point.
Yeah. I said, I completely understand that. He's like, but at this point, we're thinking, all right, there's one of his paid actors in the building, and there's only 2 ways out. One of us stood at one door, and the rest went into the building to find this paid actor that we know is hiding in there, and we didn't find anything. But while we're in there searching, 2 more of my investigators are ready to just wear each other out. He's like, you have to keep in mind, we just spent 9.5 hours in the Suburban, not a cross word amongst us. And my team is more like a family than a team. He's like, we just don't fight.
Yeah.
But so far I've had to break up 2 fights and we're only an hour in. And I went, yeah, that's unusual. He's like, for us, that's not unusual. That's unheard of. But we continued our search. I got them separated. We're trying to find this goat man actor that we're convinced is there. We didn't find anything. But then my best friend of 20 plus years stepped up and he goes, I didn't recognize the look in his eyes. I didn't recognize the smirk on his face. But he looked me dead in the eye, almost nose to nose, and goes, I don't know why, but right now I just want to smash your effing face in. He's like, well, that's it. We're done. We're done. Pack the truck back up. We're going home. He's like, I have to pick my team's safety over evidence and investigation every day. And I went, most definitely. That is our job as team leaders and team founders to protect our team. So you made the right call. I'll tell you what. Now, I'm an ordained minister. I'm blessed in 5 different religions and 3 different beliefs. So when you get to your first stop, if you would like, I will do a prayer and blessing session with your team. Just put me on speakerphone and gather around. And he's like, we can do that right now. He's like, we're at the Wawa up the street getting sodas ready for the travel. Okay, call him around. So he yells at everybody, hey, come on over here. Dennis is going to do a prayer and blessing session with us. And in the background, I hear a young male voice go, what the F can he do? He's nobody. He's weak anyway. And I started laughing. And he's like, I am so sorry. I don't know why he would say such a thing. And I said, I do. That's the one you sent to the back to place cameras, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, I don't know why he would say those things. I went, get him on his knees. He needs to be part of this. He's like, by all means, no problem. So we do this. They all go to their knees and we do a prayer and blessing session. And shortly after the amens, I hear, listen, guy, when did we leave the cabin? And I went, that's your new guy, isn't it? Tell him welcome back. And he's like, I don't know what to say at this point. Just tell him welcome back and have a safe drive home. I hope you'll come see us again in the future. And he's like, oh, we're definitely coming back. Because I can't leave with my tail tucked between my legs and keep it that way. I've got to come back. I want answers. He mentioned the goat man, that it looked like it had big horns. I had a lady that claims to be a medium and sensitive, just a few investigations back, I don't know, 2 months or so, that said she saw what looked like a native figure on the access road with full headdress that looked like antlers.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if that's what they saw up in the window, but just in the shock of that moment, I don't know how long they saw it, But what if that was it? What if it was full dress native warrior with a headdress?
It could have been, yeah. Very.
That makes sense to me. It makes more sense to me than Baphomet being in my cabin.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you had any other reports of kind of what they were reporting there? And anyone
Oh,
else?
yeah. I had another couple of young ladies that came down. They actually volunteer at one of the more well-known locations in Gettysburg. And they were going to spend the night there. And I told them that here's my phone number. Don't hesitate to call me if you need me. But if you have to, call 911. You get about a 3 to 5 minute response time from the sheriff department. They're really good here. Oh, no problem. We volunteer at such and such place, and it's known to have some darkness to it, and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, you should be fine then. About 2 hours, 2.5 hours later, I got a phone call from them that, hey, so we're a little sketched out right now. There's a lot of things going on that I just don't know how to package. I think we're going to go ahead and go home. And I said, I'm only like 30 minutes away. If you want, just hang out a little bit. I'll come up and see if I can help you. I've been doing this for a couple of decades. I'm pretty good at what I do. And she's like, yeah, we'll be in the truck waiting on you. And they were. I drove up. They're sitting in the truck. I talked to them for a minute or so at the truck. And I said, all right, come on back in the log cabin and let's talk. And I get up and the door's dead bolted. I went, y'all were serious. You were leaving, weren't you? And she's like, yeah, that's part of why we're leaving. We didn't shut the door. What do you mean? She's like, we literally ran out and left the door open and that slammed shut behind us. We gave up at that point. We still have a gear case inside. Oh, okay. She's like, I do want to ask you though, while we were in the truck waiting on you, between the two buildings, there was about a 7 or 8 foot tall black figure that looked like it had antlers or horns or something like that. Have you ever seen that before? And I'm like, no, but I've heard about him. Now, if I can get him to pay rent, I'll be much happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had virtually both ends of the spectrum. One of the coolest EVPs that I've ever captured out of that property came out of Melissa's bedroom, which is where the crime took place. I have a public group with me, 6, 8 guests sitting on the floor around the room. I'm leaned up against her windowsill. I hit record on a voice recorder and I asked the simple question, Melissa, are you with us, sweetheart? And what sounds like a young female voice right beside me is a Class A EVP of, I'm with you.
Wow.
And I literally played it back 3 times so my group could hear it, and I set the recorder in the window. I excused myself and I went outside for a break. That one just touched me that much that this young girl is going to come through and talk to me. Now, does that mean it's not something of a darker nature? No, it's not an absolute guarantee. I didn't check an ID.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain it's that young girl that so tragically passed in that room.
Yeah. So I guess we have about 6, 7 minutes left, but I did want to a few more questions.
Sure.
If someone wants to book a night at the cabin on 360, what will they expect? I know that it sounds like it's a little up in the air, but
A typical night, I would say good quality EVPs, potential disembodied voices and footsteps. And in the woods, probably some shadow play.
it's a typical night.
Nothing too absolutely crazy. You're not going to have things flying off the bookshelf or nobody's head spinning 360s and spitting out green pea soup. But a typical night is some good quality EVPs, a little bit of shadow play through the forest. And typically there's some disembodied voices during the course of the night.
Okay. And what equipment kind of works best there?
Here lately, we've noticed a lot of good activity out of the tripwire. A lot of teams swear by the dead bell. And you absolutely have to have a decent recorder for the voice recordings. And I'm not saying go out and buy a $300 6 Zoom recorder. I carry a couple of just little cheapies like this one, just a little cheap older Sony that doesn't have the noise reduction and such. And they tend to do very well.
I know I go on, I use my cell phone. I have a little
Yeah.
recorder on the cell phone.
Yeah. I've got several EVPs on my cell phone. Matter of fact, Monday, I had a young lady reach out to me Monday morning and ask about a daytime tour. And I said, yeah, come on out. She said it'll be myself and two other ladies and the daughter of one of them. She's 12. Is that okay? And I said, yeah, that's fine for the daytime tours. But nighttime for the overnight investigations, my age limit is 16.
Yeah.
Just because I know, A, they can be a little obnoxious, not typically well versed in how to protect themselves spiritually and emotionally, so it can overwhelm them.
Yeah.
But these ladies came out and joined us. The highlight of their tour, they loved the history, but we were sitting in Melissa's bedroom. I introduced the group and asked the ladies if they would go down the line in EVP and introduce themselves. So you hear the first one introduces herself, hi, I'm so, and then you hear the daughter, the 12-year-old goes very quiet and sheepish. Do I go now? And we're like, yeah, you go ahead. And she's like, hi, I'm Kaylin. And you hear a voice right behind hers that goes, you're pretty. Just a nice soft whisper that tells her you're pretty. And they got to hear that. And that little girl lit up. It was a great connection made. And just the way that it came across, I don't think this young girl expected anything to happen.
Yeah.
But to be called pretty by what we assume is a young lady that had a very tragic ending 45 years ago, 46 years ago, that one, you could see her getting a little damp behind the eyelids. So you never know what's going to happen there.
Yeah. So it sounds like it can get very emotional there with some of the EVPs. Now, if someone wants to book a night at the cabin on 360, how can they do that? Do you have a website or?
I do. I've got the booking calendar, information, the frequently asked questions. All of those things can be found at tco360.com. TCO like the cabin on 360.com. So tco360.com booking. On the booking calendar, and I will make sure that I explain this. On the top of that calendar, there is a little pull down tab for Sunday through Friday night. And that will show you one portion of the calendar, or on that same pull down tab is Saturday night. And that'll show you all the Saturdays that are available. If it's in red, it's booked. If it's green, grab it. But my rates for the rest of this month, if you book for the rest of this month, and it doesn't care how far out you book, my rates are Sunday through Friday, $350. Saturday night is $400. Those are all good for up to 10 people. And that's from 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. Now, if you've got 12 people, 13 people, that's fine. It's $50 a person beyond 10 with a maximum of 15 people. And you can sleep in the buildings. Good luck. You probably won't sleep well. But so there's a microwave, a refrigerator, coffee pot, Keurig machine. I've got a big double rack with potato chips and crackers and things of that nature there. That is all on a donation system. I've got a little Snickers box sitting there that we take donations to replace whatever you consume. The refrigerator's full of water, and there's Gatorades and energy drinks, all of the things. There's heating and air in both buildings, high-speed Wi-Fi, working restrooms in both buildings. So I won't say it's like going to a 4-star hotel because I'd be full of crap, but all of the amenities that we look for as paranormal investigators that make it that much easier for us to investigate. I don't charge an extra if you're a content creator. I don't charge an extra if you want to film or whatever. So It's a fantastic location. And I'm trying to be something that nobody else is. I want my location to feel like home. So I don't leave a person on site with you. I give you a code for the electronic door locks. It is enabled till 11 the next morning. You come and go as you please. I leave the property.
That's great.
Yeah.
And very reasonably priced. I know that some locations charge more than others, but I think that's really reasonable.
I just put out a post a few days ago. Unfortunately, beginning August 1st, I'm going to raise my rates $50. So it'll be $400 and $450 for a Saturday. And it's still for 10 guests. It's still 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. But frankly, with insurance and utility bills and everything is on the rise, I felt the crunch of it, and I've got to bump my rates up. And I'll tell you, I don't, this isn't a money grab for me. I've had people accuse me of, oh, you're just trying to get rich off this young girl's tragedy. I will tell you now, and those around me know, I lose money on this property. But my passion for keeping the paranormal active and investigated, benefiting the field, my passion for the history, the memorial garden that we put in for Melissa cost well over $2,000.
Wow.
Nothing there, nothing is cheap. And it's my passion for those things that just commemorate our history and acknowledge those that were there before us and honor those that were before us. That's why I'm so dead set and determined I'm going to keep this place running.
That's great, though. I commend you for, trying to preserve the history and also opening it up for investigations as well.
Thank you.
And I do thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a great conversation, I think, and it was fascinating. You had some great stuff. And everyone out there, if tonight's conversation moved you, the Cabin of 360, and you'd like to go and book a night, make sure you check out their website and booking calendar, and I'll have that in the description below. And if you want more haunted history like this every week, make sure you subscribe to The Common Historian. And remember, history never truly dies. It just finds new ways to haunt us. Until next time, keep digging into the darkness.
Have a blessed